which is the Fed rate probability, right over here. Now, based on the Fed rate probability, it looks like it's a foregone conclusion that come 26th of July, we would have a rate hike, okay? Because this right now over here, that probability has risen to 93%. It is really, really high already at 93%. Now, what's surprising is that, not really surprising, I would say, but in a way, it's getting more and more kind of like higher probability thing is that come September 20th, you have a 70.6% chance that we are looking at a second rate hike. Okay, so if the Federal Reserve is expected to raise by 50 basis points, we are looking at a 25 basis point here, and by September, another 25 basis points right over here. Now, if you look at November, although it's a bit far away, they have also risen considerably already. Whereas November, the first you have a 56.2% chance, and then come December, another 53.3% chance of rate hike. So this is pretty if they were to hike the rates over here, we are looking at this area, this particular area. Okay, so right now they are showing this is the maintain here at 56% chance maintain, another by December, another maintain at 53%. But this part over here, another 25 basis points, they're showing 34 and 30. If this particular number right over here, right, if they start to rise and they hit into the 70% mark, then we might see that the Fed actually start changing and probably have one more rate hike. Now, by the time they reach September, they would be I think they would hold, among all the developed economies, they would have the highest interest rates already. And then for them to come into this area and still hike rates, I think it does not augur well for the US overall, to be frank. But anyway, let's just focus on the July 26th and the September 20th. These probabilities, right, we are seeing right now that are two consecutive rate hikes here is consistent with the current Fed projections and also the previous Fed chair statements. Okay, excuse me. Right. Okay, so let's look at the RBNZ rate policy first, because we're looking at the potential rates. They're not hiking their rates. So like mentioned earlier, the Royal Reserve Bank of New Zealand would like to keep its interest rate unchanged at 5.5, and also for the rest of the year like that. So what we're talking about is that what we're suggesting here, that means this rate hike cycle, which lasted about 20 months, will come to an end, and marking a 14-year high, and currently the highest among developed countries. Now, like I said earlier, if the US takes over this, then it's a different case already. US will take over as the highest if they do two consecutive rate hikes. Now, one of the reasons of a rate pause in New Zealand is the New Zealand economic data coming below central bank's forecast. So nevertheless, there's always this possibility that they can resume their rate hike. And the only way for them to resume this rate hike is inflation pressures reduced too slow for the RBNZ's liking. Okay. The current RBNZ inflation target, this one I've reported quite long ago already, is between 1 to 3%. Right now, they are at 6.7%. And what we can say, let's just take the 3%, is still double. Okay, so economists expect inflation to average 5.3% this year and then slip into 2.9 in 2024. So they're giving it some time for this rate hikes, you know, the interest rates and all this kind of thing to slow the market down naturally, but we will see the progress. Now, with RBNZ pausing its interest rates at 5.5, the Fed would probably be equaling the rate come 26 July. So by 26 July, we have the Fed rate at also 5.5, and then 20th September overtake New Zealand and marking the US as the highest among developed economies. Okay, so if you are trading the New Zealand dollar, for example, if you have, you know, after the July thing, if you have the New Zealand making new highs, and when it comes to probably September, the month of September, it is still that pattern, then what you can always do is look into tops already. Where is the potential top for New Zealand dollar, and start shorting it, because by that time you will have the US interest a bit higher already. Okay, and probably sometimes they do move before that. We will see. Yeah. Now, I want to update also a bit from the Yellen's China trip. Now, the US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen met with her China counterpart during her trip to China recently. We all know that it's all over the news. And this is seen as an effort to stabilize ties between the two powers after the US Secretary Blinken's visit. Now, in her statement, Yellen said, President Biden and I do not see the relationship between the US and China through the frame of great power conflict. Okay, we believe that the world is big enough for both of our countries to thrive. Both nations have an obligation to responsibly manage this relationship, to find a way to live together and share in global prosperity. Now, I leave it to you to decide, you know, whether, you know, how much you believe in this, whatever statement. Yellen may be believing in it, but at this current moment, Biden, I don't know. It's also good to know that Yellen's visit came after China slapped export curbs on metals widely used in the semiconductor industry. Okay, it was just like a week before, you know, Yellen's visit, and this happened. So you can't say the timing much already, you know. It's like So this is seen as a response towards US and the Netherlands restricting sales of chip making equipment to China on the pretext of preventing it being used to strengthen China's military. So you have the secretary coming in to visit. You know, let's look at the events. Blinken's visit, everything looks rosy. Then the next thing you know, you have Biden criticizing the Chinese president. Then after that, the China slap export curbs. Then Yellen comes in, going to visit to patch things up. And she comes up with a statement and says, President Biden and I do not see relationship between the US and China through the frame of great power conflict. If it's not power, I don't know what it is, to be frank. Okay. And I don't know about sharing. I don't really see much of a sharing. I think it's personally, I think it's power of conflict. It's very simple as that. Because if it's not power, why contain people's military? Because the biggest military, the strongest military, and supposed to be the big brother of the world is US. They don't want other military to be stronger than them. As simple as that. If it's not power, I don't know what it is. Okay. So they can say whatever they want. Let's just play along. Let's just trust whatever they say, and then let's move on and let's see what they really want to say. But personally, to me, it's power conflict. Okay. Now, China's control on the said metals would take effect on August the 1st, whereby exporters will need to go through procedures to obtain export license. Now, whether Yellen's visit would be fruitful is left to be seen. China Vice Premier has so far said talks with Yellen were constructive, and the two sides have agreed to strengthen communications and cooperation on addressing global challenges and continue maintaining exchange and interactions. Constructive, these are just good words. That's, like I said, let's see. The same scenario, it is the same. Sorry, that's some spelling errors over here. The same scenario after Blinken's visit, only for President Biden to undo it with a dictator remark of President Xi Jinping. Now, for me, make it simple. If it's going to really be better, we will see. How do we see these two events? We're going to have a better clue. Relationship between the two nations would get better or not. Number one is in September, the G20 Leaders Summit in New Delhi. And then next is the APEC Leaders Summit in San Francisco. Let's listen to what they need, they are saying first here. You know, the body language, the statements that's released after, and then is there any sincere, you know, I repeat, sincere actions by both sides, not just one, both sides, in showing that they both really are looking for to share the power. Okay, we will see.